Okay, let's start with the motivation. So, Aleks, you have spoken to people really interested in immortality. Just tell us a little bit about are they fantasists? Are they egotists? What kind of ists are they?
Oh, wow, you hit two of them. I think two nails on the head right there. But I also think that they have a lot of faith. They have a lot of hope. And like the rest of us, this notion of not being there, of not existing is actually kind of scary. And so this is their way of trying to control the future, trying to make it possible to kind of live through uncertainty by having certainty in what it is that they believe.
Do they think they're going to actually make a difference?
Yes.
Do they think they will conquer the aging process to some significant degree?
Absolutely. And I think that there are sort of three different ways that people are imagining this. The first are those people who actually do believe that we are going to converge with artificial intelligence and that we're going to upload our consciousnesses into a computer and live on the cloud on server farms that are in Jupiter, right? That's the first group. Then there's the others that believe that technology is going to extend our lives by sort of giving ourselves over to the logic of technology. And that will allow us to forever upgrade ourselves with medicine and science. So that's a slightly...
So that's less digital and more kind of medical.
Exactly.
Advances in cell science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with the benefits of technology to kind of guide us towards the correct things, towards the sort of the wellness solutions that work or this and that, the other. And then we've got our third group, which are perhaps the egotists that you referred to in the first place. But these are the folks who are sort of terraforming the world and politics, who want to live forever, who believe that they're going to live forever, but they know that they need to get there via political means. So changing regulations or creating the notion of sovereign states so that they can ultimately control how and what they take in order to keep
give
going.
us some names attached to these. Yeah. These are very different groups of people, mindsets over immortality.
Absolutely.
So just give us some names, because you're talking about some quite big names in these.
I am. So when we talk about that first group of sort of converging with technology and becoming, post-human, these are folks like philosopher Nick Bostrom, who has been writing about this sort of thing for decades. Google's chief of AI for a long time, Ray Kurzweil, who's written about the singularity. That's the first group. The second group tends to be folks like, for example, Brian Johnson. Kurzweil is also in there.
Brian Johnson,
of course, yes. He was very present in the media and has been, I suppose, over the last few years because he spends $2 million a year on taking all kinds of different wellness techniques, experiments, all sorts of, injecting himself with his son's blood plasma, that sort of thing. So he, as well as Kurzweil and another billionaire named Peter Diamandis, who has done a lot of work in space and also in health, and that's sort of where he made his billions. They're the ones who are trying to extend their lives through using technological means, but still via medical science. And then our last group has fingers in both of those pies. And this is folks who are really trying to accelerate notions of superintelligence, artificial intelligence that is like the best thing that will allow us eventually to solve for the human condition and, if we want, merge with and become post-mortal. And these are folks like Peter Thiel.
PayPal. Big name, yeah.
Huge name. Yeah. Mark Andreessen, who is also a very, very big venture capitalist, and Sam Altman, and Elon Musk. So the people that, as I describe it, are sort of currently at the right hand of the father in the United States. They're sitting in the White House, some of them closer than others, and really kind of helping to direct those initiatives. In fact, I had to write 2 extra chapters at the end of this book when Trump was elected the second time, because all of these people came out of the woodwork, and it's the people who are these immortalists who are now helping to direct traffic.
Right. Absolutely fascinating sort of sociology of all of this. Well, let's talk to someone who's actually done some of the work. So, John, just tell us what you did, because your book documents this, but just tell us what you did, because you were interested. I don't think you're egotist, narcissist, or any of those categories.
Well, I am an academic, so some of those things. But I think the instinct was similar. I was kind of sitting there and I was having a haircut, and my hair, which I was been telling myself is blonde, piled up, and it was grey. And I thought, well, what am I going to die of? What can I do about it? So I tried some of the things people say. So I did an extreme fast for a week. I had my microbiome measured. I had all of my bloods taken and measured different things, cold water swimming, ate more kimchi, and just went through the kind of list of the things that people pitch, certainly at a kind of relatively affordable level. I guess the difference is my budget was several logs smaller than maybe some of the people that we've just mentioned now.
Right. And what did you conclude about the quest for defying aging?
So put simply, we are all going to die. It is inevitable. There's very little you can do to stop it. You can definitely accelerate it. So if you smoke heavily, or if you drink heavily, or if you live somewhere where there's a lot of pollution, you are going to die quicker. But we are on every part of our body from about the age of 20 is on a downhill linear slope. And there comes a point where it just crosses over and you die of something.
Right. So hot news, you're going to die, everybody. But tell us, did you make any difference? Because you were doing quite a lot on measuring your organ state and such like that, different organs. Did you find anything that worked, or that it's easy to accelerate death? Did you find anything that's helpful in decelerating?
Yeah, so there are two, I think, really important things. The first links back to my day job is that actually getting vaccinated slows many of the signs of aging. So flu vaccine reduces the rate of heart attacks. So does the RSV vaccine. The Shingrix vaccine can slow the rate of dementia. So the shingles vaccine. So getting your winter vaccines can reduce the onset of non-communicable diseases. So that's really important. And that's quite a straightforward, easy thing to do. Certainly in the UK, it's free for the people who are most at risk. Yeah. The second one is more complicated, and that's be socially connected. So people who are socially isolated have a higher risk of dying, and it's equivalent to 15 cigarettes a day, a substantial amount of alcohol a day. But social connectivity increases the quality and the quantity of your life. So actually going out and doing something with friends, do stuff you like with people you love, makes you live better and longer.
That's just a very long way, Aleks, from the kind of things your subjects have been talking about, isn't it?
100%, absolutely. And I think that this does suggest that there is a fear, right? And also there's a kind of a philosophy within the Valley of conquering. I mentioned this notion of control, of seeking to be certain of, in an uncertain world. And sure, these things will extend our lives, to our natural sell-by date, but they're wanting to go further. Right. They believe that our physiology is something that can be reduced into data. And, I'm sure, John, when you were doing your experiments, and right now, frankly, I have, trackers on. These are this is, if you think about the
fitness tracker telling you how many paces you've done today, probably measuring your heartbeat or something.
That's right. Yeah. How often you sleep, all of those types of things. I love this device. It always tells me when I am successful, but it also tells me when I'm not. And a really interesting thing that I learned when I became happily pregnant is that I had always been sort of obsessed with this notion of I am getting well, I am doing better, my numbers are always going up. I'm progressing in the correct way that the device is telling me that I'm supposed to be going in. Well, I'm growing eyeballs. I'm growing organs inside my body, and my personal bests were going down. Now, psychologically, I felt quite bad about that because I had invested a huge amount of myself into these numbers going up. These devices did not take into consideration the me that was going through pregnancy, or perhaps was unwell, or perhaps had a physical disability, or whatever things might interject in something that will stop the numbers from going up. And I often use that as a way to illustrate how the technologists are envisaging quite an impoverished way of health.
And I think, and it's what's really striking from the list of names you come up, they are computer people. They're not biologists.
No,
and it always strikes me it's a smacks of the Hitchhiker's Guide that you can come up with the answer 42, but the question is much harder. And we don't know how our cells work. I have a colleague at work who showed that water behaves differently in different places in the cell at different times of the day. And if we don't understand how water is working in a cell, how you can then turn that into the whole complexity of the human condition and aging, it's just, we're not there yet.
So, John, broadly speaking, you think the people Aleks has been speaking to, the Immortalists, they're deluded. They're deluding themselves, essentially, in believing that they're going to make a significant difference. Okay, we might incrementally add to lifespan. We have, for goodness sake, we've really added to it over the last 150 years. But to think you're going to make a sort of double lifespans or triple lifespans.
I think so. But my aspiration is that by doing this, they can bring things up. So it may be that you generate better cancer treatments or dementia treatments that then trickle down to other people. It depends how this knowledge is shared and the cost of it and where it goes next. But there may be some knock-on benefits.
Yeah, we should talk about money, actually, because the people you spoke to, Aleks, they're rich people.
They're humongously rich. They're incomprehensibly rich. But actually what John was just saying, I think, is really important to remember. I want to upfront, I love technologists. I love technology. I have been covering this space for almost 26 years I've been covering this space. And I find the things that they do, the technologies that they invent, thrilling, right? Profoundly thrilling. But when you compare them with something like science, which is a much slower process, and biology, as John was saying, we don't fully understand all this. There's a kind of difference between basic science, which is trying to understand the sort of the basic physiology, or just simply the basics, right? And from those basics, you can then create treatments. But there are two different funding streams for that pretty much anywhere you are in the world. You have basic science tends to be funded by governments or slow science institutions. It's the translation between that basic knowledge and what then comes into the public, whether it's a treatment or whether it's, some kind of new technology, right? And there has always been this enormous amount of money that has been spent by private organizations that helps to create that translation. And so I think that, yes, I absolutely agree that we will probably get a lot of amazing knowledge about cancers, or we might be able to extend our lives through the very nature of the fact that this money is flowing in from the incomprehensibly rich people. But I don't want to sort of say that what they're doing is wrong or impossible.
Well, they've earned the money. They can spend it on a project that has a very low probability of delivering anything, but which they find.
Yeah, there's a moonshot element to it, and from the moonshot, lots of technology sprung out. So I think there are benefits. You could argue that spending £2 million on one person could be better invested in giving it to Garvey to vaccinate 100,000 children. But different people have different priorities.
Yeah,
and I have to agree with that, actually, because one of the things that I really found in my investigation is that there is a real lack of recognition of the reality of the world, right? The fact that there are enormous differences in life expectancy, just even within a single country, right? The idea that these innovations in health and technology, could potentially create longer lifespans, forgets the fact that we are living in the midst of a crisis of dementia, a crisis of loneliness, of a crisis of climate. And the money is not going into the solutions for now. It's going into solutions for a potential future. And that is where I think things are really damaging.
Yeah, but the only thing is, it's not really in the big picture of science funding, technology funding, venture capital investment. The amount of actual money being spent on this is really relatively small. 2 million is not, in a kind of global health picture, very much to put into a kind of moonshot experiment on someone, I suppose.
But that's the individual. But I think the institutes that they're setting up are getting much larger amounts of money. I wouldn't be able to say the number, but. Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about religion. I mean, because is this just a substitute for religion? Is it a sort of, this is an afterlife that we're creating for ourselves, maybe through my consciousness will be sitting in the cloud somewhere on Jupiter. Is it? These are not, I'm expecting, to be terribly religious people.
There's been a bit of like science as religion of late. Not the process of science is messy and complicated, and it's not about proving things. It's about slow steps and peeling onions back. But you read things where saying, oh, the science says this, therefore it must be true. So it maybe merges in that space where you need to believe in something, or people in general need to believe in something, and it maybe is, I think you're right, maybe replacing one thing with another.
Belief in a certainty of some kind.
Oh my gosh, I see belief all over this community. And I see belief, I describe them as techno-fundamentalists. These are folks who truly do believe that technology is going to save the world. It's a group of people who believed that in the early 2000s. Perhaps they believed it before, but certainly I became aware of them when I started covering this space in the early 2000s. I dismissed them. I thought, oh, you guys have gone off the deep end. Like, you're just looking for a secular religion. Well, this secular religion of techno-fundamentalism, that technology will save us, or indeed its opposite, technology will destroy us. You kind of need both of them in order to form a religion. It's been bubbling away, and it's been sort of fermenting into something that now dramatically touches most aspects of Silicon Valley and the products and the philosophy that goes behind what people are building. Whether they're building a networking app, or they're building, some kind of chamber that will allow you to extract all the bad particles of your body so you'll live an extra 50 to 150 years. There is so much faith in technology. It actually is kind of scary, because some of the people that I spoke with are actually predicting they're predicting that the fundamentalism will turn into a kind of radicalization. And already we have heard some of those people who have argued in the past for the acceleration of artificial intelligence. They're turning around and saying, no, you need to stop all of this. You need to firebomb data centers. Like, it's the language of radicalization is starting to occur within this community. And I genuinely am frightened to see what happens, what's coming up.
What durable changes have you made to your own lives as a result of your work? John, you go first.
I think it's worrying less about things you can't control, and trying to spend more, better times doing things, accepting time is limited, and therefore investing in the things I enjoy and bring me happiness, and where I can make a difference.
I tried a bunch of the things that John tried. I tried limiting my diet, and I do a lot of sleeping. My family told me to stop dieting and just eat and enjoy myself, because I get really grumpy when I don't have enough food in me. But in general,
feels much longer.
Oh boy! But genuinely, I agree with John on this. I've sort of embraced the idea that we should have social relationships. We should celebrate the small stuff, and we should just enjoy every single day, because it is limited. And the more that we enjoy the now, the more that, when we leave, other people will remember us, and perhaps that's how we will become immortal.